I always ask the Lord. I say, okay, Lord, it's Mother's Day. And on Mother's Day, we hear the stories. Apostle was talking about the Proverbs 31 woman. And the Proverbs 31, it is truly a description of a woman, of a wife, and a mother. She is a leader. And it's not because she tries to be. It's just who she is. It's in her. It's just who she is. And we all know about Mary and Elizabeth. Mary, the blessed one, the mother of Jesus. Elizabeth, cousins. And they say when they met up, how the baby just leaped within her. We've heard about Hannah, how she kept her promise to God to give her a child, and she would give him back, and that's exactly what she did. Naomi. We know about Naomi, the mother-in-law, who was faithful, a woman of faith, and those daughters, she brought them to the Lord. They began to know God, and they began to trust and understand. We know about Samson's mother, who followed every single detail God had given to her about her son. We know about Leah and Rachel, two sisters, married the same man. They both had maid servants, and they both gave their maid servants to their husbands. We know about the conflict that was there. We know about Rebecca, who had twins. They said those two nations that were in her, and they were struggling. We know about Sarah, how she couldn't have a child, but she became the mother of many. But there was another mother also there along with Sarah. Her name was Hagar. But you don't hear anything about Hagar. You don't hear about her struggles. You don't hear about all that she had to endure. But in reading, I heard her cry. How she cried out. And it said when she cried out, God heard. He heard her in her distress. Not only did she cry out, they said God heard the lad. He heard her son. So I'm here today to tell every mother, God sees your tears. As a mother, I don't think there's not one single mother that has not shedded a tear. Tears of joy, tears of sorrow, tears of pain, tears when we see our children in distress. And just like God heard Hagar, when we cry out, God hears and he sees and he knows our distress. We all know the story. Sarah couldn't have any children. So what she did was she told her maidservant to go in, and her thing was she could have a family through Hagar. And it's amazing how in that story, see, Hagar was a slave. She didn't have a choice. She didn't have a choice whether or not she wanted to have a child. She didn't have a choice or not as to whether or not she wanted to marry Abraham or sleep with Abraham. There was no choice. It was their custom. They didn't ask her. Sarah devised a plan, and she just said, go in to my husband, sleep with him, have a child, and basically when you had a child, basically give him to me. They didn't have, there was no choice in the matter. She didn't have a choice to be there. She was a slave. She was taken from her home, her mother and her father, and just bedded to them. And it says she did just that. She got pregnant. And it said it wasn't long after she got pregnant. See, those things that we endure. There are some things that we've endured as mothers that you never see, you never hear about. But nevertheless, it happens. And it said she got pregnant. But during the course of time in the pregnancy, they said she became a little, I guess, arrogant. They said she began to despise Sarah. She began to act a little funny. She began to act a little strange. And they said she ran away. But it was in her running away. She ran into the Lord. They said, the angel of the Lord came to her. And he asked her a question. Where are you going? Where are you going? What are you running away from? And I want to ask the question, how many of us sometimes we feel like, as mothers, we feel like running away? We just want to forget it all and just run away. Not only run away from the children, we want to run away from our jobs, run away from our husband, just run away from the responsibility of it all. I remember the commercial, Calgon, just take me away. Just that quiet moment in the bath. Give me a bathroom break without them coming. What you doing? Just those moments when you just want to run away. How many mothers have not felt like, I just need a moment, just a moment to myself? Just some time. We want to just avoid every single thing. But how many of you know that when it gets that way, or before it gets that way, we should find ourselves running to? Not away from the situation, but running to, and it's running to God. Because He has the solution to everything. That He is the answer. You know, a lot of times that, and the answer that He gives us, we might not want to hear what He's saying, but it is the answer. And look at what he says. Where are you going? Where have you come from? See, she was running from her pain. She was running from pain. That thing that was causing her pain. See, Sarah, at that particular time, was causing her pain. That whole situation was painful. It was causing her pain. It was causing her distress. So she was really trying to get away from that situation. But where were you? Where was she going? She just took off and she was going. Remember, she was taken from her home. She was in Egypt. So she pregnant and just, you don't like the situation that you're in, and you just up and go. How many times we just up and we just go? We don't think about the consequences of what's really involved. I don't like where I'm at, and I'm just, and that's exactly what we say. Not looking ahead and knowing that there is a situation. See, she was running from pain, but actually what she was doing was going to cause her more pain. Slave, pregnant, no future in sight. It didn't even say when she left that she had food or she had water. She was in her feelings. How many times we make decisions? When we just make decisions because we all emotional. Because we are emotional. Because we are women and we are emotional. So she made a decision out of her emotions, out of her hurt, out of her anger, out of her bitterness. And I'm sure she was angry because I didn't ask to be here. It was not my choice. How many times we find ourselves in situations? Not the best choice. And then in that, we don't make the best decisions. But look what God tells her. It said the angel of the Lord came. And he says, Hagar. And it said that was the first time she was addressed by her name. I'm here to tell you, no matter where you are, God knows your name. God knows your name. God sees you and where you are. He knows your pain and he knows your distress. Hagar, where are you going? Where are you coming from? Where are you going? But look what he tells her. Go back, submit to your mistress. Submit. That's a word I'm sure she didn't like. And don't too many of us like today. Submit to your mistress. Submit to her. Go back. And I know she might have thought, why is he telling me to go back to a place of pain? But he says, go back and submit. See, God is a God of order. It was the custom that Hagar submit unto her mistress. Could it possibly be that she had gotten to a place where, because she was pregnant, that she didn't want to submit any longer? The word still tells us to submit to those that in authority over you. How many of us today have been running from that submitting? We don't like what's going on our jobs. We just don't like, and we just, oh, I'm leaving here. I ain't got to take that. And we walk away without even thinking about what we are doing. But see, God knows. He already knew, so he tells her, go back and submit to her. But not only did he submit, but he goes on to tell her that she was going to have a son. And he even told her his name. He even gave her some description of her son and how he was going to be. So she does. She obeys. She obeyed the word that God had told her. So she goes back. And I'm sure God already knew that when she went back, there was still going to be conflict. How many of you know that even now, where we are, places that we go, people that we meet, people that are in authority that we really just don't kind of, that there will be some conflict, but it's all in how you handle the conflict. So he sends her back. And in sending her back, I know that there were some lessons that she had to learn. So because the word tells us in order to be in authority, you got to learn how to be submitted to authority. So she goes back. And it says when she went back, it was some years later, Sarah becomes pregnant. And they said, in that span of time, it was something like 14 years. So here Ishmael, he has grown up. Abraham, I'm sure he has become attached. He loved him. It was his son to him. But they say by the time Isaac became weaned, they had this feast. They had this celebration. And they said in the celebrations, they said that Ishmael began to mock Isaac. Still conflict that's going on there. 2 women, 2 children. It says Sarah looks out and she sees Ishmael mocking Isaac. And then Sarah looks at Abraham and says, she got to go. The both of them, they got to go. He would not share in Isaac's inheritance. And they said Abraham became somewhat distressed, upset, because he loved him. And not only did he love him, I'm sure that by that time there was some affection that he had even for Hagar. They had been with him for all of those years. He helped him. He trained him. He taught him things. But Sarah says, they got to go. And God tells him, listen to your wife. Listen to Sarah. They said that Abraham gave them bread and he gave them water. And they left. Once again, you find them on the go, put out. But this time, they wasn't put out because of Hagar. They were put out because of Ishmael. The way he was treating Isaac. Out of all of those years, I looked at that and I said, could he have developed some of those ways because he saw what his mom did? Is it possible that he really had developed some habits, some ways that he saw from his mother? And you know, I thought about that. I'm like, we get on our children about certain things, but is it possible that they have developed some ways, some habits from us? Think about it. They said that they were put out because of Ishmael that time. And they said it got to a place where the water had ran out, the bread had ran out. I said, Lord, how many times do we find ourselves in situations where we are down to sometime our very last? And then even that, God sees. God knows. And all they had to do was they began to cry. They said she went to one place, she set him there, and she went on to a distance away from him. They said because she didn't want him to see her crying. But it said the Lord heard. And it said, but the Lord heard the lad. It said that the Lord heard the lad first. As mothers, we got to know, and children, you got to know, when you cry out to the Lord hears. It never said what he was saying, what he was doing, but he was crying. And the Lord heard. And the Lord heard Hagar. And the Lord comes again, and he reminds her of the promise. See, God had already told her that he was going to make him out of a great nation. No matter where you are, no matter what they're doing, you got to know, even in our children, no matter where they are even now, no matter what they are doing, the promises of God still stands. They might not look like they're doing anything right. It might look like they come far from what they're supposed to be doing. But the promise it still stands. You got to know that they are going to go through some things. It's part of the promise. And I can say that it's part of the promise because God had already told her about Ishmael. He was going to be a wild ass. And it said that his brothers were going to be against him and he was going to be against his brothers. But it didn't change the fact that he said God was going to be with him. So we got to know even now, even in our children, no matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, the promise still stands. It might not look like, most of the time when we look at them, they are definitely going in the wrong direction. And we'll say, what in the world? Y'all know I didn't raise y'all like that. Y'all know better. Where y'all get that from? And I say, the apples don't fall too far from the tree. There were some things that we got into. There were some things that we did. Mama and them looked at us and they said, what in the world? Y'all know y'all wasn't raised like that. Y'all doing what? Now y'all know better than that. I taught y'all better than that. Same thing. But we look at our children and think it is so bad now. And guess what? It was so bad to mama and them when we were out there doing what we were doing. But you gotta know, God hears you in your distress. He sees every single one of your tears. God knows you by name. He knows exactly where you are. You're not lost. They're not lost. God knows. He says, I know the plan that I have for you. Not only do he knows the plan he has for you, he knows the plan he has for them. He says it's a hope and a future. So as mothers today, God have seen every single one of your tears. He already knows the pain that's there. He already knows your distress. He already knows your name. But the promise, it still stands. No matter what it looks like. it still stands. No matter what we might think about it, it still stands. So just do like Hagar did. We got to learn to just call out to the Lord. Stop getting ourselves all, you say, in a tizzy. Because that's what we do. We get all upset. And not even run away from our problem, but just run to. Run to the hands and the arms of the Master, of the Almighty, who already knows. He just wants us to come to him, call out to him. He said, I'm not a God that's in a far distance. I'm a God who's right there. Amen and amen.